All right, it is time for the last case study. And this one's a little bit of a treat because we got to see what actually happened here. I should say someone we actually worked with without disclosing any sensitive information or anything like that. So what we looked at here, in working primarily with the husband, he was looking at a policy on his wife, 43-year-old female. Now he wanted to fund it for 30 years, and the first 20 years much more aggressively, and then kind of cooling off after the first 20 years for the last 10 years. But when she's 73, 74, stop at that point in time. So wanted to pay premium into the policy for a long period of time, and he was very interested in seeing different ways to design the policy with a focus on long-term cash value. However, if I can get long-term cash value without a MEC, without giving up early cash value, I'd take both. Like, definitely, who wouldn't? How do I maximize the upfront cash value and still have the long term? Because it is possible, but that's what we spent a lot of time on. So an actual case study, 3 different companies here, looking at the guarantees, non-guarantees, different blends, so a lot of information here. But really the purpose was to see if different companies work differently. We looked at 2 of the 4 major mutual companies and a smaller carrier as well when we put this analysis together. So let's take a look. And a quick side note is you'll see with the third company, the smaller one, they do not have a 10x limitation. So a lot of times we'll talk about the 1090 split. So you know where that comes from is some of the major mutual companies, that's about as aggressive as they will allow one to go. Smaller companies will often allow you to go lower. You're going to see, it'll be very interesting here, the split was about a 3.5% base compared to, and a 96.5 PUA compared to the other split he wanted to see, which was a 25-75. So looking at different options and such. Let's have some fun. So first thing is first. Company 1, looking at compounding. That's what the interest, this whole case study is about. Right, going back to the topic, when I have a life insurance policy, if I give you $1, I get $2 back or $3 back, you got to factor your actual out-of-pocket payment too. That's only fair to do that. So let's get into it here. Funding, $100,000. 20 years, and then $25,000 per year through year 30. Now, where that 25 came from was with a traditional, I should say a more traditional blend. The example on the right, we have a $25,000 base premium and a $75,000 PUA, 25-75 split. Once he dropped the term rider, he just paid in the base premium from that point forward, years 21 through 30. That's how that policy was constructed, how the overall design worked. So we've got his cash value growth right here. What year do you want to go to? Let's go to year 15 first. Here's what I want to look at. And this is the kind of stuff that we hear all the time. 100,000 goes in, and look, it grew from 166 to 180. Well, I'm sorry, 1.6 million to 1.8 million and change. $165,000 in, it's up there, gross cash value growth, okay? Before I do that, let's look over here. 164 with the minimum premium. About the same. What do we see here? I don't really care about this. And the reason why is if I look at year 15 and say, yeah, I got 164 back. No, after I back out my base premium, my total premium payment, the net growth was 64,857. All right, so meaning if I take the growth, it grew from 1.717 to 1,882. That's 164,000. Back out the actual 100,000 I paid out of my pocket into the policy. The net compounding that year was about 65,000. with the higher base premium, $65,849. Okay? Time passes. Here's something I want to touch on, because the splits here actually, this company let us go a little bit less than 1090. It was about 991, 9% base instead of a 10%. But here's really what I want to touch on. Here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to get rid of these two columns because they're taking up space. There we go. We just want the net here. Not much difference in the overall compounding. And to make a point here, because we always hear this, because people ask us to address it, that the base premium, the true power of the compounding is there, or that the compounding is more favorable than that of the PUA. This example, by the way, that we're looking at first is based off of the dividend. We're going to look at guarantees next. Like what's the difference when I look at year 20? So I should give up $50,000, $100,000 to get another $200 of compounding 20 years down the road? No. Now, time passes. Year 30. It's bored, man. What's going on here is this example on the right. So this was the 2575. We got a $25,000 base premium. This is not, my sloppy, poor penmanship, is not uncommon to see at all, where after the funding, pay just the base premium from that point forward. So that 25K is 100% base premium. This example, to keep a fair equivalent moving forward, is the same $9,000, it's $9,000 and change, $9,000 PUA base premium, 9K base premium, the rest going into PUA to keep the cash flow the same. Because you can do that kind of stuff if the policy's set up properly. That's where the knowledge with the specific insurance carrier or carriers you are looking to use is important to be aware of. But that keeps the cash flow the same. And there's really not a huge difference. I mean, if I look at the year 30 mark, I've got $4,437,000 compared to 404. So what do I got? Another $33,000 in this example over 30 years relative to what he paid in. Not that much more. Now, he did have more from start to finish, so he was able to use his capital early on and not have to wait forever to capitalize it. He also got it back sooner, between 5 and 6 instead of 7 and 8. As time passes, not a huge difference, $65K based off of the dividends. Now, as usual, let's look at the guarantees. Here's where it gets interesting. So, what do we got here? Guaranteed cash values, breaking even on the minimum premium between 6 and 7. Year 10 with a higher base premium. That's always going to happen. If you go with the higher base, when you look at the guarantees, you're going to have less from start to finish, no matter what, because the guaranteed element is exactly the same on base premium and PUA dollars. I'm talking about your cash value. So my point to that is PUAs get into the policy immediately, so you get faster compounding, you're out of the gates faster. Year 20, much of a difference? Not really. Minimum premium starts to pull ahead. You're getting greater compounding with the PUA component. Let's be clear there. Greater compounding all the way through with a higher PUA, not a higher base premium. The purpose is to educate a consumer of a high base premium strategy, low base premium strategy, what gives them the most cash value. I'm kind of talking how I go through our agent training seminars now as far as doing the ethical thing and optimizing their cash value and forecasting everything properly from a MEC standpoint. But look at this, it's almost double as what it was compared to the dividend option. Dividends, what was the difference? 65K more, guarantees $111,000 more. That's the kind of stuff that's good to see up front. Higher death benefit as well as time passed, about $110,000 more. Same thing, because we took it out to 93 here. So a lot of information here. This was company 1. We are going to look at company 2 next. Hope this helped. Hey guys, Steve Parisi here. If you enjoyed the content you just saw, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for future videos. If you'd like more information or to see some custom policies for yourself, feel free to call or email our offices at the contact information below.